When Horizon Zero Dawn rolled off the assembly line in 2017, it was a shiny, Dinobot hunting odyssey that showed us Guerrilla Games' true mettle. It was such an on-point first stab at many things outside of that team's wheelhouse. The Decima engine looked a treat despite needing to be radically changed to support a massive world filled with hunter-gatherer opportunities. The biggest feather in its headdress, however, was a fluid stealth/combat system that played like a fast-paced, lethal game of operation against a herd of Dinobots. In Lay Hunter's terms, shoot the right organs to win prizes and kill faster. Miss and you're gonna get zapped. Oh, and at the center of it all was Aloy, an endearing protagonist who was resourceful, intelligent, and steeped in an ancient apocalyptic mystery. Looking back, that was probably the most addictive part of this package. The need to slowly excavate this kooky 31st century shitshow. Why is humanity a bunch of scattered tribal elements?
I don't have time for outcasts.
Who are the old ones? And why are there anthropomorphic machines who don't even need meat, but are still trying to take a chunk out of my ass? All of that made sense in the end. And, like many of you, I found the dialogue-heavy juice of that ARPG to be very much worth the 30 to 40 odd hour squeeze. That being said, Horizon Forbidden West picks up a mere 6 months after those revelations. It's going to be impossible for me to dive roll around Zero Dawn spoilers. I'd recommend that if you're new to the series, you should fast travel away now. To those of you who still remain listening, I can say that I've been all up in Forbidden West for roughly 14 days before launch. With that sort of lead time, I took it upon myself to do a blind, very hard completion. I'm definitely fatigued, but I'm also fully equipped to point out the hits and surprising misses of this hotly anticipated sequel. But first, here's a bit of non-commentary gameplay. It's easily skipped using YouTube's chapter functions. Talk in a bit.
Oh, that's a nasty one.
More machines on their way. Get to safety! I'll handle the rest!
I'll help the Nora. All right, Nora. Let's see what you can do.
No good. Need ammo.
You're a Meridian in action.
Now!
So what's Forbidden West about? At the machine core of this tale is yet another doomsday. An old world plague of life-destroying lantana that's branching out to choke off humanity. The switch that needs to be flicked to stop it all resides out in, you guessed it, the banned lands left of here. Here's a quick expectation adjust for you. Though the state of play footage, advertising key art, and hell, even the main title screen all show tantalizing glimpses of that western shore, you're not going to see it for bloody ages. That is Endgameville. A massive cross-country caravan of courage stands between you and there. And if you think that's going to be easy, you're California dreaming. Sadly, I'm not authorized to say much more about the plot than that. I can, however, try to impart some feelings of slightly underwhelming sameness, a kind of reduced sense of wonder and mystery. When it comes to the cool secret about this world, the Ravager is already out of the bag. Guerrilla tries to weave in additional layers of Old One threats and lore, maybe the odd new tribal quarrel to unravel, plus the odd shadow games done with the longtime meddler, Silence.
You can trust.
Trust?
Yes. Trust.
But yeah, I've got to say, in all of those instances, no solid central villain is ever produced. Forbidden West fares better in terms of collectible allies, the most exciting of whom I'm not actually allowed to talk about. You'll gather up a small entourage, and it's sort of a pretty even mix of new faces and old friends brought across from the, permitted East. The dialogue and backstories here are generally well written, and I bonded quickly with most of my friends. It was actually a pleasure to go the extra mile and solve some of their personal problems in dedicated side quest chains, even though I felt that resolving them didn't really affect what was going on in the main path. It's just nice to lend people a hand once in a while. Don't get too excited, however, because your buddies keep to your central base of operations, and, script-wise, your lengthy and optional chats with them soon become this calming oasis of common sense. The memo about the true nature of this world just hasn't reached the Forbidden West. The main quest has you butting heads with these nonsense-spouting religious nuts and nouveau corporate overlords with armies as vast as their delusions of grandeur. In short, there's a lot of people that you're going to feel like reaching into the TV to slap.
We weaken, we die, and become fertile ground for new life. This is the natural order.
Wait. You're all just going to sit around until you become food for worms? Literally?
And you know what? Having to be this incredibly patient babysitter to another nation of ignorant weirdos feels like deja vu. Fortunately, there is an uptick at around the midpoint, when new revelations provide an actual new mystery to pick at. But yeah, overall, this follow-up journey just isn't anywhere near as enticing and satisfying as the original article. I really got into discerning Aloy's destiny and the reason for those robosaurs back in the day. And hey, I'm certainly glad that I went on this new walkabout with Aloy. But by the end credits, I felt that the new car smell and a bit of the old magic just hadn't returned. Maybe you'll feel the same way, maybe not.
Then by all means, proceed.
When it comes to mechanical improvements, figurative ones as in combat enhancements and literal ones as in bigger robots to maul you, this sequel delivers a mixed pouch. Honestly, if you've been tracking the previews in the press, you pretty much know all of the new stuff that's been bolted on. Guerrilla has expanded the skill tree from 4 disciplines to 6, and that's a total of 126 perks versus the 44 we got in the original. It's clear that there's been a renewed focus on making melee combat more viable. The basic gist is that you can buy into a skill that lets you power charge repeated whacks into an energy pulse that makes a key bit of enemy armor light up in an explosively volatile state. The problem? When you reach this point, you will still need to get some distance and or some of that sweet bullet time archery perk action to create a window for a ranged shot to detonate that weak point. All told, this is a valiant attempt to make fisticuffs relevant, but the devastating AoE attacks of massive dinosaurs, particularly the ones that block your progress during the main path, man, they just make super close quarters combat a really bad path to choose. I did like the new spike thrower, which is an arced means to put some explosive hurt on a hard to reach spinal weak point. There are also some interesting new tactics to be discovered using the part-tearing shredder gauntlets and the crazily high rate of fire bolt blasters, but at best I'd just have them as novelties. As for me, I stuck mainly to my trusty sharpshooter bow and a handful of power shot Valor Surge techniques. The long story short on those, Aloy basically has a super meter that builds when you hit weak points. A Valor Surge is a pre-equipped super technique that comes with this fancy activation animation and a lot of DPS output. You can unlock 12 of these as your skill tree journey branches ever downwards. They can also be pumped up to be 3 times as potent. All of these, along with the simple addition of being able to tag desirable parts purple, definitely elevate this already addictive combat. Traversal wise, Aloy ascends faster and with a surety that the original game lacked, but still not to the degree that people would be hoping for. I think the best inclusion is the shield wing that allows you to Mary Poppins off the side of a cliff and then give an enemy the old death from above treatment. There's also an unlimited air diving mask which opens up underwater tomb raiding. It's cool that those sections weave in these sort of stealth moments, but they are also curtailed by a lack of combat options and these sort of underwater currents that the level designers use to keep you on a leash. Lastly, I consider myself a fan of the Pullcaster, a dual-purpose bit of kit that lets you contextually rip open new traversal paths, drag down puzzle boxes, or just zip upwards to dedicated grapple points, which, sadly, are rarer than a robot hen's teeth. When it comes to climbing, the most frequently cited flaw of the original game, improvements have been made, though it's just not where it needs to be. There's also been some misinformation circulated about how ubiquitous it is. One particular quote from game director Mathis de Jong to IGN seems to be the main culprit. In that post-State of Play interview, the phrase, quote, "climb anywhere," unquote, was used in relation to any area outside of a human settlement. Understandably, excitable fans took that possible misquote to get G'd up for something that they thought would be Zelda Breath of the Wild. For you uninitiated, that's the game that allows you to have a red-hot go at scurrying up virtually any surface, stamina meter and rain slickness permitting. Horizon Forbidden West is not this. Not even close. The best that I can say about climbing here is that you now have a HUD pulse that paints canyon walls, mountain faces, or buildings with either red crosses or yellow lines. The latter are handholds that are in painfully short supply, and, despite your best analog stick efforts, there's going to be the odd intention prediction jank. 95% of the time, you're more likely to be confronted with a sea of red crosses. Surfaces that act as if Aloy has a pair of buttered moccasins taped to her hands and feet. All that may come as a bit of a letdown, but I am happy to say that this iffy climbing system does get rendered mostly redundant. That'll take a while to show up, however, so don't expect to quickly escape the upward slog and some weird animation clipping that occurs during mountaineering. Let's get down to brass tacks. It doesn't take a focus module and a detective's eye to see that the development of Forbidden West has been affected by the pandemic. I expected to dedicate large chunks of this review towards praising the Decima engine's move to the PlayStation 5. It is absolutely a visual onslaught, but it's marred by rookie errors. Nobody can argue that the bold artistic vision of the original is still here. You're going to experience vast, open areas of gobsmacking beauty. I'm talking about the stuff that you could set to John Williams' Jurassic Park theme. Rolling savannas and steamy jungles that meet postcard skylines dotted with circling pterodactyls, or the odd Robo-Brontosaurus. And just quickly on that, the moments when you successfully scale a tall neck, still amazing. All that being said, in my 30 plus hours I experienced probably just as many instances of a micro-loading bug that effectively black screens everything for a second. It almost looks like your TV just loses HDMI input for a second. Sure enough, a quick ask around to other reviewers revealed that this wasn't an issue that was unique to me. Gorilla then issued a pre-launch patch they said would address this problem, which I installed, and the same things just kept happening. Don't mistake me here though. With additional patching, Forbidden West is still a top tier game that's well worth emptying one's pouch of metal shards to purchase. In no time at all, I fell back in love with the hunter-gatherer loop and the methodical nature of its machine murder. I have zero doubt you will too. Because man, some of those epic 20-minute long fights I had with the 40-odd cast of megafauna machines, I'm pretty sure I'll be telling my grandkids about some of them one day. I think the emergent battles you just stumble across in Forbidden West are the end boss fights that lesser games wished they had. So if you hold gameplay to be your chiefest concern, as I do, then this safer than expected sequel still absolutely hunts.